and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from the Lauren and the Books. So I'm from Lauren and the Books and I'm mesmerised by my massive hair. I feel like Frenchie from Greece, you know, when she comes out of that big the thing that they put over ladies' hairs when they have their hair done in the 50s. That's what I feel like, but that's not what the video is about. The video today is about books that I've received in the latter half of June. This is actually my second book haul in the month of June, which doesn't very often happen that there's two book hauls, but I feel like some of the books from the first book haul had tailed over from books that I picked up in May, and here are a few more, 10, maybe 11, 10 or 11 that I've picked up in the month of June. I will start with 3 books I got from the Lush Book Club. So Lush Book Club is something that I mention quite often on this channel. It's a free event run by Lush at the Lush Studios in Soho. It's a book club where they, Anna James, who's got a wonderful booktube channel called A Case for Books, I will link that down below. She interviews authors about their books that they have, and there's products there, and there's cake, and there's chat with the author, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful time. I've met some really amazing authors there. I went to the Big Bones one, Laura Dockrill, earlier this year as well. I've been to quite a few now. I think this was maybe my 4th, but this was the first one where there were 2 authors, which was really, really interesting. And Anna did a great job of chatting to both of the authors at the same time about 2 completely different books and managing to get amazing answers from them. So it was a really, really good event. The 2 books were The Water Cure by Sophie Mackintosh and Things Bright and Beautiful by Anbara Salam. Now, you were only allowed one of each, but luckily David was there, so I picked up this one. No, I think I picked up this one and David picked up Things Bright and Beautiful. Things Bright and Beautiful was a book that I actually had the proof of, but this front cover is just absolutely amazing, by Anbara Salam. When I first read the blurb for this, I thought it really, really sounded very similar to, oh my god, The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver, which is a book that I've read earlier this year. It follows a character, Bea Hanlon, following her preacher husband Max into a remote island in the Pacific, in a similar way that the characters in the Poisonwood Bible went to the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it just goes into sort of details of her coming to terms with the locals and missionary work and things like that, and it just sounds amazing. And both authors did a reading from their books and both of them sound absolutely fantastic, so very, very much looking forward to getting that. And then The Water Cure, which was the second book, is what really intrigued me about this book is that it's told from a multiple perspective, it's told from the perspective of 3 sisters, but some chapters are told from the perspective of the 3 sisters. And Sophie Mackintosh herself, excuse me, need to cough. Sophie Mackintosh herself likened it. She said that she'd read this, there was a special word she used when it was like a group narrative or something. That wasn't the word, it was much better than that. And she likened that to The Virgin Suicides. That was the one and I was trying to think of a book where I'd read a group narrative before, and it is true, the Virgin Suicides was probably that book I was thinking of. But yeah, so and this is all about women not feeling safe in their bodies and very keen to keep together and to look after one another. Yeah, and this is also set on an island. So 2 books set on islands, both from Lush Book Club. And then I actually missed one Lush Book Club. I didn't even know there were tickets for it, and I didn't even know it was happening. And I just saw it on Twitter that someone was there, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know there was one. And they were discussing a book that I was really, really excited about called Educated by Tara Westover. And when I got there was a few copies left, and I said, are they left over from last time? Because I'm really gutted I didn't get to go. And this this is a non-fiction book, which follows Tara's account of growing up with quite a radical father who is preparing her and I think her brother for the end of days. He is absolutely convinced that this is going to happen, and she's never been registered for a birth certificate. She's lived completely off the grid, and her father becomes very, very radical as she gets older, and it is because her brother becomes very violent. And at 16, Tara decides to educate herself. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to reading this, and it sounds very, very, very interesting. It's also got here a quote from Stephen Fry on the back, who says, marvellous. There's no feeling like discovering a young writer who is springing up fully armed with so much talent. Well, and then you see the other people that have also commented. Sarah Perry, I mean, come on, they're good. When you see people whose books you've loved commented on other people's books, you're like, oh, lovely. The next one is Hag-Seed by Margaret Atwood, it tells the story of Felix, who is putting on a play of The Tempest in a prison, with prisoners playing the the parts. I've made that sound much more confusing than it is. I've only read, I've read The Handmaid's Tale, definitely. I've read it maybe 2 or 3 times. I've also read Surfacing by Margaret Atwood, and I think I might have read An Edible or The Edible Woman many years ago, but I haven't read that much of Margaret Atwood. I started the audiobook of The Heart Goes Last. Is that her most recent one-ish? Oh, that's a lie, because I've read Mad Adam and Oryx and Crake. Oh, it's a lie. But I have read more Margaret Atwood than I thought. But I still really want to read this. This is told from a male perspective, which I feel is quite interesting to hear from Margaret Atwood's perspective. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And then I've got this little tiny weeny. This is 33 pages, 34, sorry. And this is Ian McEwan's My Purple Scented Novel, which was published in celebration of Ian McEwan's 70th birthday. I can't really tell you much about it because I feel like, I mean, in 34 pages, one of those pages, that's a 34th of the story there. 2 pages, that's 17th of the story? 17th of the story. But it says here, it follows a perfect crime of literary betrayal. Let's read the first page. Let's read, not the first page, just the first line. You will have heard of my friend, the once celebrated novelist Jocelyn Tarbet, but I suspect his memory is beginning to fade. Interesting. The next 2 are books from Indian authors, which I'm very excited to read, actually. The first one is English August by Upmanyu Chatterjee, which is a book that was published originally in the 80s and follows a character, Agastya, but uses August as his sort of English name. And he is from a family of elite Indians, and all of his friends go to really like high, amazing universities in America, and he gets a job. I think he gets quite a good government job, and which takes him to a place called Madna, which is in the Indian sticks, and it really is a sort of like cultural like awakening for him. And yeah, it just sounds really interesting, and I've been meaning to read some Indian fiction for a long time. I've also got another book here, not that that's anything to do with it. I've got Fasting Feasting here by Anita Desai, so I've got some Indian I'm not going to be able to get that back on the shelf, not without concentrating. She's done it. So I've got some Indian fiction feasting to be doing. So that's the first one. And then I've also got a collection of Indian short stories here from Akhil Sharma, which is called A Life of Adventure and Delight. That front cover is amazing, isn't it? So yeah, it says here that there's stories here. It says, I mean, the range of stories. I always find it hard to describe a short story collection without reading the blurb, because there's so much different stuff in here, but I feel like this will do it very good justice. Whether describing the tensions of an arranged marriage, the trauma of having an alcoholic mother, or the petty corruption of an Indian neighbourhood, Akhil Sharma's stories always expose the cultural collisions, the paradoxes, the ironies and harmonies that characterise modern life. What does it mean to be foreign? Can you find home in exile? So yeah, yeah, as I said, I've got a bit of Indian fiction to be getting on with, so I'm very excited about that. That is wobbling like no other. I'm going to put it sideways. No, that's still wobbling. Still wobbling. There we go. The next one is one that I've got from the publisher with a cheeky little bag as well, which is very exciting. I do enjoy a tote bag. And that is, I'll show you the book. That's giving you a hint as to what it's called. It is Vox by Christina Doucher. And it says here, the tagline here is, Silence Can Be Deafening. Now this is a story which has been described as The Power meets The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale being a book that I very much love. The Power being a book that I enjoyed to start with, but ended up being a bit disappointed about by the end. However, I'm sure I won't be disappointed by this. They've definitely got, I mean, Power meets The Handmaid's Tale, and then this front cover, red, black and white. That is what they like to do with a sort of dystopian feminist text, don't they? But this is a world in which women are only allowed to speak 100 words a day. If they speak any more than 100 words a day, then electricity is coursed through their veins with a shock that they get for speaking more than 100 words a day. I really like the idea of this. I think it sounds amazing. It's also told in really short chapters, which I'm sure is sort of reflective of the fact that women are only allowed to speak in short bursts of 100 words a day. So I'm sure that's reflected there. But yeah, I feel like this has got really good promise, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I don't know when it's out yet. When is it out? I don't know when it's out, but I'll find out. But also, I've just flicking through to look to see when it was out. I've noticed that they've done this very good thing where they've taken people's reviews and then written underneath how many words they are, to just give you an idea of how many words a day 100 is. So, for instance, the quote, which links this in, Vox is one of those books you will want to tell everybody about. The Handmaid's Tale meets the power. Nothing will silence this book. That's 23 words. That's a quarter of what you're allowed to say a day anyway. So yes, very clever there. So I'm looking forward to that. The next one is a cookbook, which I'm double excited about. This is, oh, I've got cramp bad. The Green Roasting Tin by Rumkimi Ilyar. Now, I've seen this book before in a non-vegetarian and vegan way. So there's also a non-vegetarian and vegan cookbook of this called The Roasting Tin. Now, this is a book about one pan recipes, whether it be one pan that you stick everything in and stick it in the oven, or one pan of stuff that you cook everything on the hob. This is just one pan. Oh God, already I've turned to something that looks amazing called Rainbow Tabbouleh with avocado, radishes and pomegranates. And it's separated quite nicely into a vegan first section and a vegetarian back section, which gives you, and also it's separated, I don't know if you can see because it's quite lovely shiny paper, quick, medium and slow recipes. So if I'm ever in an evening I'm like, oh, I just want something quick, then I can do that. Or if I want something to cook a bit longer, like on a Sunday for instance, when I take a bit of time, this is going to be perfect for me. I try and eat vegan as much as I can. I am a vegetarian, but I try and eat vegan where I can. And yeah, to be able to separate it into, and just to have like this many amazing vegan recipes. Oh, roasted tomato, red pepper and artichoke panzanella with tarragon and lemon. Oh God, one more, let's have a look. One more. 3 bean, that's a bit boring. Ooh, I can't even say that word. Whole roasted cauliflower, I love cauliflower, with ras el hanout, pearl barley and pomegranate. Yum! So that is definitely going to be getting a lot of use. Things that don't have much washing up, she says, not having done any washing up because David does all the washing up. And then I've got The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer. This is a book that has come out this year. This front cover is just wonderful, isn't it? It reminds me a bit of a jumper I had when I was younger. I had a stripy jumper that was in all these colours. I think I hated it, but now I would love it. This follows a character called Greer, who's a college student, and she's very shy and retiring until she meets the woman who is going to change her life, who is a woman called Faith, Faith Frank, who is a pillar of a women's movement and speaks on behalf of a women's movement, and that's where Greer first meets her, speaking in a chapel. And it says here, Greer, misunderstood yet full of longing for an ambition that she can't quite place, feels herself changed, and then astonishingly Faith invites her to make something out of this new sense of purpose with a career opportunity that leads her down the most exciting and rewarding path as it winds towards her and away from meant to be love story with a high school sweetheart Corey and the future she had always imagined. So yeah, I feel very excited. It's quite a chunky guy. It's quite a chunky guy. It's just over 450 pages, so yeah, looking forward to that as well. Oh, let's have a look what it looks like underneath. It's blue, it's nice. And then the last 2 books are books that I didn't even know were coming from the publisher, and that is Moomin, they're 2 Moomin books, Moomin Summer Madness by Tove Jansson and Moomin Papa at Sea by Tove Jansson. So I think last year I got sent 4 Moomin books. They're just very like nostalgic and fun. I didn't watch Moomins when I was younger, but they just really remind me of like childhood, which is weird for something that I didn't watch. And they're just beautifully published. They've got these lovely end papers, and then underneath they've got a little on the hardback they've got a gorgeous sketch and things like this. So yeah, looking forward to feeling a bit nostalgic. I feel like I might wait until autumn. She says I'm filming this on the 21st of June, which is the longest day of the year, which means that from tomorrow we're just on the way to Christmas, guys. That's what we're on the way to. So those are the books that I have so far, no, they're not so far. Those are the books, some of the books that I've received, my goodness me, that was heavy, in the month of June, that I've got in the month of June. Would love to hear if you guys have read any of these books. Can I even lift them up? Can I? Oh God, that's hard work. I'm gonna have to put them down. Have you guys read any of these books, and what books have you been buying or getting your hands on in the month of June? I hope you're all well, and I will see you all again on Sunday for another BookTube video. Goodbye.